Good morning, old souls. It's Dr. J, and it's a beautiful day here. I just realized that I got to learn to brush my hair before I do these things, don't I? Anyway, today I want to talk about a topic that is very, very, very common and popular, and for good reason, and it's the topic of gratitude. But I want to discuss gratitude in the context of a framework of meaning that is very, very important to me. And that is the understanding that life can only thrive where there is a balance of masculine and feminine principles. And as always, I want to be clear, I don't mean men and women. I mean masculine and feminine as two core energies of creation, non-negotiable, a part of absolutely every thing, every season, every tree, every leaf, every car part, every conversation, every molecule, every atom, every dark matter, and so on. However, in terms of consciousness and culture, the significance is that when you have a dominance in one of these two orientations or one of these two modes of thinking or modes of being, you end up with differences in thought and language and identity, and therefore quite significant differences in lived experience, which of course leads to the affirmation of certain kinds of thoughts and certain kinds of experiences, certain kinds of choices and habits and patterns and behaviors, and so on. So you get these perpetuating cycles that spin out in equal opposite directions, so to speak. So the masculine consciousness, as we've discussed, which is not male, but it is the dominant consciousness that we see on our planet in terms of industry, technology. It is the consciousness of conquest, the consciousness of colonialism, the consciousness of innovation, the consciousness of material wealth and hard science. Of course, the balance is not to suggest that feminine consciousness doesn't embrace those things. It does, but it does with a collective reference. We can do something, but should we do something, right? We can go to the moon or Mars or into space. Should we do those things? We can take over a country. Should we? So it's more oriented around ethics, around impact, around cost and process, and the management of resources rather than the exploitation of resources. Well, anyway, you get the idea, and most of you have been with me through some of these things, so I hope you know just what I'm talking about. But here's a subtle way that we can be influenced by these two different types of consciousness. And I would argue this is pretty true of almost all of us listening to this, including me. Spiritual principles and practices can exist and even prosper in either consciousness. However, there will be subtle implications that will affirm one worldview or another. Gratitude is a great example. In the yang, or the masculine-oriented consciousness, we find that gratitude is a popular practice, a popular reflection. But gratitude if we were to look at the weakness of this for a moment, which sort of sounds crazy to think about the weakness of gratitude, but the kind of vulnerability or fragility of gratitude as a focus is that gratitude does affirm the individual feeling, the individual experience, and even the individual benefit, right? Like being grateful is good for you. Being grateful is one of the ways we can manifest things, right? Being grateful is a means to an end. Being grateful doesn't even require another party. It's this self-experience. And those are all wonderful aspects of gratitude. They're all wonderful aspects of gratitude. And I would argue that they're all true, or you could call them relatively true. The challenge, though, is that in cultures or worldviews that are feminine in their root or yin in their rootedness, then it's less about gratitude and it's more about being thankful. Now, for some of you, you just paused and thought, I think Jonathan's just like losing his mind. He looks like he just got out of bed or crawled out of a cave, and he's telling me that gratitude and being thankful are two different things. Like that's going to change my life. But actually, being grateful and being thankful, focusing on gratitude and focusing on thankfulness or saying thank you, are radically different at some level. Gratitude, as I've shared, is largely internally focused in the way we've really explored it and practiced it in the modern world. Whereas a culture that focuses on thankfulness is a culture that focuses on interdependence, interrelationship. And the thankfulness is actually directed towards someone, directed towards something. There is always, at least as I feel it and see it, in the integrated worldview or in the feminine worldview, there is always something to thank. So when I wake up in the morning and I step out into the sunlight, some would say, Jonathan, take a moment and just breathe in that beautiful air, see that beautiful blue sky, hear those spring birds, and feel grateful. Well, that's beautiful, but it's only half of a whole experience. I can feel grateful, but to me it's incomplete unless I also say out loud, or think vividly, or demonstrate physically, thank you. Thank you to the morning sky. Thank you to the morning sun. Thank you to the green leafy plants climbing their way through the old leaves of the forest floor. Thank you to the mysterious spirit of life that has allowed one more day to be given. Now, I don't care how you understand the totality of that thing, that presence, that essence you are saying thank you to. Obviously, I think of it as something that I'd call spiritual. So I am saying thank you to God. I am saying thank you to the universe. I am saying thank you to life. I am saying thank you to the spirit world. I'm saying thank you to the spirits of all the things around me. I am even saying thank you in some cases to the forces and energies and intelligences that I don't even understand or know. But whatever they are, I want them to know. I want them to know that I am grateful. To be thankful is to show appreciation. And showing appreciation and feeling gratitude are not the same thing. They are absolutely interconnected, but do you stop at being grateful? Am I grateful for this? Am I grateful for that? Great. I hope you are. But who do you say thank you to? And how do you demonstrate it? If I'm grateful for the food on my plate, if I want to demonstrate that, then I'm not going to waste it. Then I'm going to cherish it. If I'm grateful for the plant life or the animal life that gives that food to me, so to speak, then I'm not going to want them to suffer. I'm not going to want them to be treated poorly. I'm not going to want them to be poisoned in the process. If I'm grateful to something greater, a mystery, a force, a source, to life, how do I demonstrate that? Do I demonstrate that by being in dialogue with it, by listening to it, by trusting it, by letting go into it? Or do I stop at grateful and just feel it and then go about trying to control my day and explain everything and blame everyone? You see, to be thankful is to be in relationship. And I invite you to question, to explore, to reconsider every aspect of your life and your spiritual worldview and your practice, to look for the indicators of interconnection, interdependence, exchange, and loving relationship, and to be attentive to where and when your practices, your philosophies, your language begins and ends with the self. You know, it's funny, perhaps to close, it's something I've struggled with in my own life and work for years, which is I've probably done 1,000 presentations where I've said to someone, this material works whether you believe in a higher power or not, because gratitude has its own power, meditation has its own power, setting intentions has its own power, and we can even point to the science that's showing how so many of these practices have an internal implicit benefit. But it's not totally true, is it? It's not totally true. If we don't remember that everything we do takes place within a context of life and in relationship to something greater, then something's missing. At some core level, we're sending a mixed message, or I've sent a mixed message to say, yes, you can do this without God or Spirit or anyone else. But it needs to be said that the fullness of those gifts, the fullness of that growth, the fullness of that healing, the fullness of that meaning and that natural medicine cannot be realized in a self-centered universe, in an empirical, competitive universe of isolation and difference. When we connect with the heart truly, we connect with each other. When we connect with each other truly, we realize that we are a part of a greater interconnection. And as we come to affirm that and know that in truth, in our lives, in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, then it naturally points us into a profound relationship with our mysterious origin, with the source of all things, which doesn't have to be a personified God, but it is a force outside ourselves. It is a force bigger than ourselves. It is a design and an energy and a kind of intelligence, a kind of love that is available everywhere, always, to all. And ultimately, it has no beginning. It has no final definition. And we can live in relationship to that without fear. In fact, I think that's one of the great gifts of coming into relationship with a higher power. It is coming in relationship to mystery, and that is coming into relationship with the fundamental reality that we must face every day, which is we don't really know what's going on. We don't really know what's next. All we can do is the best we can do with the little that we know, connection to the heart, and the willingness to be in relationship. The willingness to say thank you. So I'll leave you with that. Practice saying thank you. Thank you. Not just feeling grateful, but thank you. Thank you every day. Thank you to everything. Thank you to your glass of water. Thank you to your cup of coffee. Thank you to your computer. Thank you to the sky. Thank you to the ground beneath your feet. Thank you to your shoes. Thank you to your feet. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss, doesn't it? Anyway, much love, gratitude to each and all of you, and thank you.